Hello, and welcome to our presentation on developing a math YouTube channel to support parents. My name is John Kerrigan, and I am from the mathematics department and the graduate school education at Rutgers University.
And I'm Alice Seneres with Princeton University, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today about this.
In terms of our session abstract, it has never been easier for educators to create their own content to share beyond the classroom. In our presentation, we will outline the development of our Math Videos for Parents YouTube channel that we built during the COVID-19 pandemic. We will discuss the tools, content, approach, and branding methods we took to create and publicize our channel with a focus on how current instructors can create their own content that the whole world can use.
So our objectives today are learning strategies for jointly recording instructional videos, also to brand and advertise an instructional YouTube channel using different social media outlets, and finally to discuss the personal and professional rewards to creating your own content.
So our zany idea happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. We wanted to work on a little project together and help people. We wanted to create a resource that both parents, students, teachers, whoever was interested could have to help with math. And a lot of that came anecdotally from our own friends and family and people we interact with on a daily basis. We were finding that many parents often have difficulty understanding and explaining the methods their children are using to solve mathematics problems. And a lot of that is rooted in the fact that the way mathematics is taught to students today with the New Jersey student learning standards or the Common Core state standards, if we're outside of New Jersey, relies on concepts. It's very conceptually driven, and it differs very much from the way parents might have learned mathematics when they were in school, when it was more traditional. So for example, there's scary terms like regrouping and compensating and things like that, which aren't that bad when you break it down, but it can sound intimidating to a parent or even a student when they're first learning the process for solving the problem. So our videos aim to show parents, here's the way that you learned it, here's the way your child might be learning it, and here's how they're related and why the way your child is learning it might be better in the long run in terms of learning and transfer. And then, once we had that discussion, we would do another problem that showed how to use the new method or conceptual method, if you will, on the problem. And throughout our videos too, we made very deliberate effort to connect concepts from elementary to secondary. For example, when we talk about using an area model for double digit multiplication, we try to let our viewers know, hey, this might seem like a lot of work to multiply two numbers, but by using an area model from a young age, this can help build an understanding that travels up with the student to high school when they multiply binomials using an area model. So, we really tried to make rich, comprehensive videos for parents and teachers and students that were also easy to follow and provided additional practice. Some of the tools that we use to create our videos, this was just an idea that we had, and then we're kind of amateurs at this too. So we looked around and researched and tried to come up with a way that the two of us could do this from our own locations and create content and then push it out to the world. And what we found the most helpful was Google Jamboard. This is a virtual whiteboard that both of us were able to access on our own time, place examples, images, problems, and then when we were actually doing the instruction, we were able to annotate each on our own end. So you can think of it as a virtual whiteboard, a shared virtual whiteboard that was very easy for us to use, not only to prepare our lessons, but also to actually teach them. We use Zoom, much like we're doing right now. This is the video conferencing platform that allowed us to be together. We use Screencastify. Once we were on Zoom and had the Jamboard, Screencastify allowed us to record our sessions with both of our faces. And while we could have recorded through Zoom and saved it, the advantage of Screencastify was we were able to go back and edit and crop anything we needed to. Sometimes you have those weird endings and want to crop out, any fiddling around with the windows or the goodbye part. And it also allowed easy export to YouTube. So once we loaded it, we were able to name it and then push two buttons and it went right to YouTube on our channel. So we really enjoyed, the convenience of Screencastify for that. We use Envision Math. That's a Savvis product, formerly Pearson. And Envision is a program that I use in my full-time work, and they have everything laid out very clearly. So when we were looking for topics to use to help our parents, the Envision series we felt was really convenient and helpful in our own learning to learn the content and then to give some examples that were modified versions of what they had. And then last but not least, Canva was helpful with some of the branding efforts and creating really nice visuals on our videos, on our Facebook pages and things like that. So that gave it more of an artistic, catchy flow for everything that we were doing. And Canva was something we added in, not at the very beginning. That came along the way as we were refining our work and trying to get some social media attention. So we would definitely recommend that program as well.
It's very easy to use, which is wonderful.
All of these, I think, were pretty easy to use. And that's the best part. Like, we just kind of went into this with an idea and we just found these things and we figured it out. In the beginning, we had some trial and error and we made some tweaks along the way, but there was not a steep learning curve, I don't think, with any one of these. So that can be reassuring if you want to do something like this. So we thought we would outline what we did each week. Typically, we filmed on Sunday morning just to have dedicated time outside the work week. And prior to Sunday morning, we used to have our own homework. We would get the slides together and the topics together ahead of time. We usually would decide after filming what we were going to do the following week. And then over the course of the week, in the evenings after work, we would kind of work on this on our own. And we made an effort to pick topics that had a traditional way of solving that parents might have learned, but also now, students are learning it more conceptually. So an example of that would be partial products. That was one way to find products through multiplication. And it sounds scary, but if we compare it to something parents know, like multiplication by carrying, we try to connect those two things together and have a very clear connection to something that they knew versus something that sounds intimidating or is a conceptual way of solving things now. So once we picked the topic, we went to Jamboard. We would do a sample problem in the beginning and have it worked out both ways. So typically, Alice would go on and say, oh, when I learned this in school, I learned how to do it this way. I would line up the numbers vertically. I would multiply. I would carry over the one, whatever the problem was. And then she would turn to me and say, so John, how do you teach it now in elementary school? And I would kind of explain the background and the rationale for the more conceptual approach that is required in the standards. And then she would kind of engage in conversation with me to try to understand it as a learner herself. And then there was one problem afterward that she would then solve using the new approach. So it was a back and forth dialogue with us, with also some practice. And we would, to actually do this, we met on Zoom. One of us shared our screen with the virtual whiteboard up. So there was real-time annotation of the problem. And then we had Screencastify recording with both of our faces shown. So it allowed us to create content in two separate locations at the same time. And that was all thanks to Jamboard, Zoom, Screencastify. It was, those programs were great.
And one of the wonderful things about creating your own content is then you always have it. So like once we made these videos, it's not like giving a lesson where you give this great lesson and then it ends. If you create a video, you always have it either on YouTube or you just have it that you can share out. And that's a really nice thing.
So after the heavy lift of designing the slides and recording them, there was follow-up work that mostly Alice did to get these videos out to the world. We would then export them to YouTube. And like I said, that was very easy through Screencastify. We had our YouTube account linked up to Screencastify. So we would just put publish to YouTube. And then we would go into YouTube. Actually, no, this was on Screencastify. On Screencastify, we would dump in a description that would then sync over to YouTube. And in our descriptions, we just tried to explain to parents what the concept was, maybe even provide another example so that they had another written way to understand it. And we also would include the state standards because, a lot of elementary teachers, teach by standards, and there's standards-based report cards and things of that sort. So we tried to make those K to 12 connections very visible in our videos as well. And then Allison used Canva to create a thumbnail for each video. This was something that we added later on once we started getting used to even developing these videos, and even the descriptions too. Like that was something that we didn't come out with right away. Like we built on those as time went on to make the videos accessible. And we were finding when people would search, if we had descriptions, maybe there'd be some keywords there that if people were searching, it would bring them to our videos versus just putting up a video and hoping the title had a word that would get them there. And then we would also have videos pushed out on social media outlets. So we have a Facebook page, and we were able to set it up so that our videos would be pushed out there. I know Alice did some work on Twitter with a tweet deck and having stuff pushed out there as well. So that was also an important way to get our stuff out there beyond just being searchable on YouTube.
And if I could just add, John, you mentioned a few times, like we didn't start with all of this. The nice thing about creating your own content is you can just start where you are with what you want to do, and then just gradually learn more. Like at first it was just us making the videos, and then we thought, oh, we should have better descriptions, we should have thumbnails, we should have social media, but we didn't start out on day one doing all that. We just started out with math and a dream.
And this is where Alice's studies, I know she's studying business and like the MBA type stuff. So I think what she was learning in her courses helped inform some of what we did here. And my background in K to 12 helped us navigate some of the content stuff. So I think between the two of us, we had each different strengths and backgrounds that when put together, it created a pretty good product. So this is just, I learn best when I see visuals and I kind of remember it. So just to give you an overview of what we would do behind the scenes, when we would pick a topic, I would go to the Envision online platform and look through the table of contents for each grade. So we would start, in the very beginning, we were just thinking of things that we knew off the top of our head that parents struggle with. And we created videos based on that. But then we started going to specific grades. We were like, all right, let's take a look at third grade this week and see what's here and what we could take out and explain to parents. And when we would look at the index, if we saw things like break apart numbers to subtract, or subtract using compensation, or partial differences, I mean, these are words that, at least I don't think, I don't think I learned it like that as a student. So I would imagine parents that who are my age or around my age, they also would be in the same boat. So we tried to focus on those types of things and break it down for them in a very easy to understand, accessible way. And the nice thing about Pearson was they would have these nice pages that had visuals and would break it down and illustrate it for us. So we would learn it through there, and then we will go and then create our own problems to use during the videos. Here's just one example of a Jamboard that we use. So one of the topics, we spent a lot of time on fractions. That's a big part of fourth grade. And we looked at traditional ways of comparing fractions versus a different way of comparing fractions. So what we would do is we would put the title on the middle of the whiteboard, then a problem also in the middle. Alice would do the left side, which was the way that we learned it. And then I would do the right side, which was the way that it's being taught in schools today. And we would have this recorded and the work shown live on our video. And then, the slide that would follow after that would be one additional problem using the new way. Here's just another example. I just took a screen capture of this. We were going over greatest common factor. Students learn GCF in younger grades. And I remember when I was a student, we used to draw factor trees out, and people still do this now too. So we illustrated that process live on the screen. Here's what it actually looked like. We would have the Zoom images of ourselves up on the top, but then Screencastify recorded the whole screen. And then we were able to push it out onto YouTube. And on the right, Alice worked out repeated division. So once we went over factor trees as the way we learned it, we then learned the phrase repeated division and how that related to factor trees and why it might be a more helpful approach to things as students learn about repeated division later on with exponents. And then, I talked up Screencastify a fair bit, and this is how easy it was. Once we finished our recording, we then would get a pop-up, and it would ask us, well, what do you want to do with it? So we would have this math videos for parents pop up. We would change the settings from private to public so that anybody could see it. We would dump our description into the description field and then click upload. And then from there, you can see down on the bottom right, we had some options. We could either download it to keep or just go right to YouTube. So, it was really, really easy once we were done to push it out. And that was the part I was most scared about prior to this. So I was like, once we make it, where's it going and how's it getting there? But it was really easy with Screencastify.
Yeah, the technology is amazing these days. Okay, so one of the things, and John mentioned this before, was we made sure to, after we started kind of getting a handle on things, we started including rather robust descriptions. And that was so that people could kind of read through and see if that was a video they wanted to watch. But also one of the things that I learned was that a robust description helps the YouTube algorithm kind of find your video and recommend your video. And for all that we do with pushing out our videos on social media, most of our viewers come from YouTube recommending a video, like serving it up to them. So you want to keep that algorithm happy when you can. And so they say like a 200 to 300 word description is the best way to do that. Of course, using like the keywords that you think people might search on.
And that was one thing I learned from Alice too about description link. That to me was fascinating. That you don't just want to put a 1 or 2 sentence blurb, but we started thinking about how can we fill up that many words. And it actually, we came upon this fair agreement with a description, some definitions, the link to the standards, and then ways to reach out to us. That usually filled the word requirement pretty well.
Yeah, once we got going, it was pretty easy. And then another thing that we didn't do at the beginning, but we started doing was putting thumbnails in. So basically, when you go to YouTube, without a thumbnail, you would just kind of see like the initial first second of our video. It'd be like our faces and our Jamboard, but it wouldn't really tell you what the video was about. We would have to rely on the title and description for that. And it wasn't a very uniform presentation. So with Canva, it's almost like fancy PowerPoint slides. It's very easy to use. And so I would just start making thumbnails for each video. So I would always have our logo and the title and the math videos for parents. And then I would have a screenshot of the problems we were working on. And I might change the color of the background depending on like the grade level. And then it was really easy to just save it and upload it to YouTube as a thumbnail so that when you go to our video, you'll see that as the first thing. And that kind of helps with branding as well. So we started a brand account on YouTube rather than a personal account. It just gives you, it's free. It gives you access to some algorithms and some insights. And once you hit a certain number of followers, you can have a personal, a brand account URL. Once you hit even more followers, you could monetize, just if that's, your long-term vision. Having the videos go live at the same time every week, it helps the algorithm kind of trust your content's going to show up. We would post our videos once a week. Social media, it's like an infinity pool. Like people will be like, you should post once a day, but like we have full-time jobs, like we can't make videos every day. So it's a hobby. So we did once a week. Other people, might want to do more. We started a Facebook business page. Again, that was free. And that way we could just promote our videos. And really, we were just looking for people to kind of be aware of them. And also we were asking for people to write in with problem requests, which is a nice way to inspire new videos. So every time we put a video up, we'd post about it on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I would time it so that they would all go live at the same time every week. You can schedule it ahead of time, so you don't have to be like at the computer at that day at that time. And again, just being predictable, it helps your posts show up to other people. Another thing that I learned is you don't just want to be putting out like your own content on social media. You also want to put out some non-promotional content. So I would put out, a thing about our video, and then I might, follow up with like the next 2 posts would be like maybe a math joke or an article that I thought parents would like to read about how to reduce math anxiety. And so that way it's like you're giving to your audience, and that that helps it grow and helps you grow engagement. So these are just some examples. On the left is a math joke that I put up. I like to only do positive math jokes. There's a lot of negative math jokes, but I don't want to reinforce that. And then on the right, you can see this was our Facebook page, and it's one of our videos, and so that's our thumbnail, and then people can click on that to watch it. TweetDeck allows you to schedule your tweets ahead of time. Hashtags can help an audience find you, and it can help you find your audience as well. Like since I've started posting all these, I've on Twitter started following more math teachers, more educators, more math meme accounts, if you can believe that those exist. And you can also pay to run Facebook ads. You can set your budget as low as $1 a day. We've done a few Facebook ad runs and they've helped us gain a little bit of traffic. That being said, I feel like that's kind of our next thing. I don't feel like we've quite gotten a handle on how to have a compelling Facebook ad that really, converts dollars to clicks. So that might be the next thing that we focus on with growing our channel. And just over here, you can see that was our ad preview. And on the right, it was just another tweet about a video and another tweet about a joke. Just to keep it interesting. Personal and professional rewards. John, did you want to take this slide?
Sure. So you might be wondering, why did we do this? It seems like a lot of work, but we just love math. I mean, we wanted to help, but some other things that came out of it, I guess, that we weren't expecting going into it. We did have a couple of school districts contact us and ask if they could place our channel on their webpage, which was kind of cool. Just through word of mouth, like we would have colleagues and friends say, oh, I know these two people that made videos. And then, minutes later, we have a director of curriculum asking, hey, can I throw your channel on our page for parents? So that was kind of cool. We, as educators who have mostly taught secondary and higher ed, we really got to know elementary pretty well because we never taught it. And by going down and having to teach it, we had to learn it ourselves. And that was interesting. And we just had a lot of fun learning that content and thinking about why it's difficult for parents and for students to learn. And then we often found we were making a lot of connections ourselves with, oh, they're learning this in second grade. Well, we teach this in calculus. Like we would have a lot of those aha moments, and we would point those out in our videos too. And with that, we think our communication skills improve too, because we were trying to explain content that, we know and love to an audience that might not feel the same way. So we got improved communication out of the deal as well.
I think too, it also helped us really stay current with technology.
Yeah.
Technology, it improved a lot due to the pandemic. And I wouldn't have known about Google Jamboards without this, project. I probably wouldn't be on Twitter without this project. And the other nice thing, John, is I think it was nice for us to have a project to do together. We're colleagues and friends, and this was kind of something that we, could work on together, which was wonderful.
Yeah, our typical go-to is making a presentation or writing an article, but this was just something different, and it became like a weekly routine. And we felt more impactful this way than just writing a journal article and having it pushed out and letting it die there. This was more of like an ongoing effort that can pay off for years. Like, we hope people will access our content for many years moving forward. And we were actually surprised when we would look at our YouTube stats, which videos had the most hits. It was interesting to see what parents were searching for and what they weren't searching for.
That's actually another lesson learned, is like when we started, we just started by making a few videos and pushing them out and kind of seeing which ones got traction and which ones nobody seemed to watch. And that's a good way to, before you make a whole bunch, to kind of do a test case and be like, okay, what are people being drawn to, and then going from there. Oh, and we already talked about the first bullet here. We did learn a lot about social media and branding. It did make us a lot more confident in preparing instructional videos for our own courses, and it's fun to have a project together and helping people love math the way we do.
For sure. And I going back off of the making videos for your own classes, I ended up taking that to my asynchronous courses. I would record videos using Jamboard and then make the recording and the Jamboard accessible to them afterwards. And so many students in higher ed seem to like that they're able to access the whiteboard and the recording of it at the same time, and they can choose which way they want to access the content. So that was another, like, I guess, unexpected thing that fell out of this. Just because we became comfortable with it, it became natural for me then to teach that way, and people seem to like it.
Wonderful.
All right, so if you'd like to connect with us, we welcome any additional questions that you might have. We listed here our email addresses. If you'd like to check out our work, our YouTube channel is called Math Videos for Parents. So you can feel free to check that out, or follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/math videos for parents. Like Alice said, we do take requests. So if there's a request you'd like us to handle, we'd be happy to make a video on it and push it out through our sources.
Thank you so much. We hope you found this helpful.
Thank you.